My name is Nathaniel Imprim, GAMFIN's training coordinator. Today's webinar is hosted by GAMFIN and CAPLAS through our partnership with Mastercard Foundation to strengthen Ghana's non-bank financial sector. The program is called FIRST Plus, which stands for Financial Institutions, Resilience and Strengthening. FIRST Plus addresses common challenges across the industry through webinars like this, workshops, and training seasons. CAPLAS also provides one-to-one technical assistance to financial institutions that are committed to scaling MSME finance. At the end of the webinar, we will provide contact information if you would like to learn more. Now, today's presenter is Terry Lennon. Terry is an experienced international training consultant in marketing, sales, leadership, change management, customer service, and strategy for financial service sector. He has worked extensively in East Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda over the last 9 years, and has trained over 3,000 personnel. Terry has a strong focus on understanding the marketing mix, that is the product, price, place, and promotion, segmentation, negotiation skills, and meeting the strategic goals of financial institutions. He has significant experience in training personnel in marketing communications to increase influence potential and display a professional image to both internal and external customers. Now, throughout the webinar, we encourage you to submit questions for Terry in the chat box, and we will address as many as possible at the end of the webinar. This webinar is also being recorded. We will send you a copy of the presentation that will be done by Terry and a link to the recording afterwards. Now, Terry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nathaniel, and good morning, everybody. As Nathaniel said, my name is Terry Lennon, and I'm delighted to be with you here this morning to spend the next 45 minutes or so discussing the important issue of customer service in microfinance institutions. So in addition to working as a training consultant, particularly in Africa over the last 9 years, I was also head of sales and marketing of the credit card division of a European bank. So as this is the first of our 4 sessions that we'll be doing, 2 this month and 2 in October. So I hope you will join me next week, next Thursday, where we're going to be talking about sales and marketing. But Nathaniel will tell you more about that at the end. As Nathaniel said, if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat, and we'll try and answer as many as we can at the end of the session. So can I invite you now to sit back and relax, and I hope you enjoy our discussion on how important customer service is to microfinance institutions. So let us start and look at what our objectives are for today. So our first one is to understand why customer service matters. So why do we spend so much time as bankers and people in financial institutions talking about this? And why it is so important to differentiate the institution or your institution in the eyes of the customer by means of superior customer service. And what does superior customer service mean? And what does it mean to you? We look at an understanding of what customer service is from the perspective of the customer and what exactly he or she wants from you when they come into your branch or when they're on the phone to you. We will talk about the 7 essentials of customer service. And finally, we'll look at why leadership is so important in developing a culture of service excellence and an understanding of the concept of servant leader, the servant leader. So why do we focus on customer service and customer service strategy? So first of all, it makes business sense because it builds more market share. It increases our deposits. It increases loans. It increases your assets. And it eliminates or certainly reduces the number of customer complaints that you get from your customers. So the challenge that we all face is how to become a customer service leader, how to become a service leader. Because what you want to do is you want to crush your competition with the level of service that you are providing. And you need to learn, how do you differentiate yourself? So how do you differentiate yourself from the financial institution or bank that's across the road from you or next door? And how do you develop a customer service that customers have never seen in any other financial institution? And indeed, nowadays, people are not only comparing you to other financial institutions or other banks, they're comparing you to the service that they get in other sectors. So they go into a restaurant, they go to a hotel. You're being compared all the time against the level of service that people get in other walks of their life. So creating magical customer experiences, that's really what we're trying to do. And how can you, as a person, as a banker, create magical customer experiences? And the challenge for you is to expand the product to include the entire experience. So expand the product to include the entire experience. That's the differentiator. And as well as products, there are also the processes that the customers have to go through in order to get to the product. So, for example, they're waiting in line, they're making an appointment, etc. So organizations are selling the entire experience, not just the product or service, as in financial services. Okay, so financial services, it's about the service. So you're selling the entire experience. So how people feel as they come into your branch or your place of work, and not just the product that they are getting from you. So to create a magical experience, what we need to do is we need to move from a task mentality to an experience mentality. Okay, so just think about that for a second. Move from a task mentality to an experience mentality. And what I mean by task is, this is doing your day job. So it's handing out cash, it's filling in forms, new account forms, new acquisition forms, new lending forms. So to change from just that task to try and make it an experience for the customer, a good experience for the customer. And you know what? Usually this involves just a genuine smile, a kind word, or some demonstration of care. But it's very easy just to fall into the task mentality, particularly when you get busy and you're under pressure. Is looking at the Sorry, I hope you're back with me there now. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. So let us continue. So we're talking about creating a magical customer experience. So little things can create a positive experience. So as you deal with your customers, ask yourself, are you doing this with a task mentality or an opportunity to build a positive experience? So just ask that question. Are you dealing with customers with a task mentality or as an opportunity to build a positive experience? And just by asking yourself that question, you cannot help but move in the right direction. So think, am I providing a good customer experience to my customers? And let's look at what customer service looks like. So let's just take a step back and see what are the simple things that we look at when we talk about customer service. So it's certainly a smiley face, and that goes without saying. It's saying hello to the customer. It's recognizing them, saying their name. It's having good product knowledge. And it's about having a good or a positive, and a positive attitude. So let's just look at those. A smiley face sounds very, very simple. Yet, why does it not happen consistently? Why does it not happen consistently? And I'll tell you just a little story. Last week, I was in a restaurant with my wife, and we had 3 different servers come over to us at various stages during the meal. And each of them came over with a smile, a nice word saying, hello, how are you doing? I hope you're enjoying their meal. And we felt that was a great experience. So saying hello to the customer, recognize them, say their name. Okay, so if you know their name, say it. Everybody loves to hear their name. I'll give you another example of something that happened to me many years ago when I was a young man and I was buying my first car. It was an old car, because I couldn't afford much money. So I bought it and I had it for 2 years. But after 2 years, I had saved up enough money to try and upgrade to a slightly better car. And I went back to the same garage that I had bought my first car from. I hadn't been back in 2 years. And I remember as I walked in, the salesman was sitting behind the desk, the same guy that I dealt with 2 years ago. He got up from the desk, he came over, he put his hand out, he shook my hand, and he said, hello, Terry, good to see you again. He said my name, and I was so thrilled that he said my name that I bought the next car from him. And price then was less of an issue because I felt I had a relationship with him. The next piece then is about good product knowledge. Really, you have to know your products. If you don't know your products, now is the time to put a serious effort into understanding them. So it's like going to a doctor. And if the doctor doesn't know how to sort you out, you're not going to be impressed with him or her, and you're not going to go back. So you really have to know your products. There's no point in having a smiley face, saying hello, Terry, if actually you don't know your products. And you really have to have a good and a positive attitude to your job, because that comes across in how you deal with your customer. So being able to help customers achieve their objectives, that's what you're there for. You're here to help. You're here to help them. How can you help them, whatever it is, get a loan, lodge money as fast as possible, withdraw money as fast as possible? You're there to resolve their issues. Whatever their issues are, your job is to resolve them. So if you have that at top of your mind, customers are there in front of you, and your job is to help them and try and resolve their issues as fast and as efficiently as possible. You want to be proactive. So try and maybe anticipate their needs. Say, can I help you? If there's a person coming in and they have difficulty filling in forms, say, can I help you fill in that form? Maybe they don't have their reading glasses with them or whatever. So try and help them, be proactive. And above all, be professional. You're there, your customers pay your wages and your salary. So remember that. So be professional and say, what can I do to give my customer a good, positive experience? And then when we go a little bit higher, just looking at in customer service, and we talk about CRM, which is customer relationship management. So this is where we manage the total relationship for our larger customers. And it's about identifying your strategically important customers. So who are the customers in your branch, in your bank, that are strategically important? So if they were to leave you, let's say in the morning, and go to another financial institution, you would miss them. They would, it would hurt you. So identify your strategically important customers. And these are the customers that you need to get even closer to. So you really need to understand them. You need to understand them personally. So you need to understand a bit about them, about what's going on in their lives. And you share some information, personal information about yourself with them as well. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to develop a relationship. So remember that customer relationship management is about a relationship. So if you don't know a bit about them and they don't know a bit about you, then you're going to struggle. So as well as knowing a bit about them, you really will need to know their business. So understand their business that they are in. Now, this takes a bit of work, but don't forget, these are your strategically important customers. So you need to understand the sector that they're in. And you need to understand what are the local issues, what's the national issues, and for some of your larger customers, what are the global issues? So you understand their sector so you can help, so you can be a professional. You need to understand their competitors so you can advise them. And what you're doing is you're helping them to achieve their full potential. That's what you're there. You're there to help. So help them to achieve their full potential and identify opportunities. Help them to identify opportunities. If you can do that, they are less likely to move away from you, and they are more likely to give you more and more of their business. And as they grow, you also benefit from that as well. So let's look at a few points from a book by Beamer and Shook about the customer being king. We always say the customer is king or the customer is queen. Okay, so what does that mean? What are the key things that we're saying here? We're saying customer service is everybody's job. So it's not just the people at the front desk. Everyone in the organization, everyone in your bank, in the financial institution, and particularly in the microfinance sector, it really, really is important that serving the customer is everybody's job. And this must be made explicit to all employees. And everybody must have a desire to serve customers. So you're not doing it just because it's your job. You're doing it because you want to help them. And customers will know if you are genuine in your desire to help them. So at its most basic, it means extending a warm greeting to customers. And it's about treating people with dignity and respect. So that's what you're trying to do. And Jim Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager book, and there's now a video about it, he said, customer service should not be a department. Customer service is everybody's job. So that's number one. When we're looking at customer service, attitude comes first. Attitude is key. So in our role as customers, we are treated with disdain so often that in many cases, we've just become oblivious to it. So we don't notice the bad customer service that we're getting because we're so used to it. And most of this is down to attitude. So you need to have a positive attitude, because apathy or bad attitude drives customers away in large numbers. And you as financial institutions are spending a lot of time trying to get new customers, but you have to retain them and you have to make sure that they're active. So if you don't have the right attitude, they're going to, all that money and time that you spent in getting new customers will be wasted because they'll just go away. And it's important to make the working environment a place where employees want to come to work, because that will translate into a good working environment, and your customers will see that.
Yeah, Terry, we can't hear you very well at this point. Audience will be with you. Please, we exercise a little technical hitch. Will be with you very soon. Sammy, the chat box is disabled. It's only the question and answer side which is happening. So please, I beg you. Yeah, hello to you all. So please, we are trying to get everybody set again. We want to restart the system to get Terry back on the system. So please, we'll go off in a minute and then we'll come back to join the section, please. Sorry for the inconvenience, please.
you're saying that attitude is critical, and having the right attitude. So in our role as customers, as we were saying, we are treated with disdain many times, and we become oblivious to it. And apathy drives away customers, and all the time you spend on getting new customers is wasted. By bad customer service, we lose them. So it's important to make the working environment a happy place and a good place where employees want to come to work to serve their customers. There's a gentleman called Howard Schultz, and he's the CEO of Starbucks. And Starbucks, as you probably know, is the coffee chain. So they sell coffee, and they've thousands of outlets around the world. And what he says is, we're not in the coffee business serving people. We're in the people business serving coffee. So isn't that an interesting way of looking at it? So he says, we're not in the coffee business serving people. We're in the people business serving coffee. So you just think about that for yourself and look at the microfinance institutions in Ghana. You're in the people business, and you're providing financial services. And a happy employee makes a happy customer. And it's worthwhile, ladies and gentlemen, asking customers occasionally what you are doing right. Because all the time we're trying to find out where it's going wrong. So ask customers what we are doing right, because that helps your staff, and it reinforces to staff that they are appreciated. Because we know happy staff equal happy customers and equal happy shareholders. So really it's important to get our staff happy. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a culture of customer service, that everybody wants to provide value to your customers. So it's that culture is embodied by everyone in the branch, in the department, in the bank. However, when you're talking about culture, you cannot mandate a culture. You have to create it and then let it evolve. And you also have to believe in it. Okay, so you can't just say, let's have a culture of customer service. You have to create it, and then it evolves. And most importantly for management need to walk the talk. So if they're saying customer service is critical, then they need to make sure that they walk the talk. And if you are a big company, think small, because many people feel that big companies don't treat them as well as large companies. Okay? So big companies need to retain their small company roots. That is, having a personal relationship with their customers. And remember, it's one customer at a time. There's no shortcuts for developing relationships with customers. You have to do it one customer at a time. And great companies never forget that customer loyalty is earned one customer at a time over a long period. So there's no shortcut, unfortunately, to it. You have to do it one customer at a time, one staff member at a time, and that's the way you have to do it. And it's about looking at the total customer experience. So the total customer experience, remember, it occurs before they come in. So what are they expecting from you? It certainly occurs during and then after the customer interaction. So if you said you were going to follow up, make sure you follow up. Even if it's to phone the customer to say, I have no news yet on your application, your loan application. And just think, can you deliver a wow experience for the customer? And what does wow look like from a customer, from the customer perspective? What does it look like? So the product or service is much more than just a product or service. It's about the whole customer experience. And what you're trying to do is to add value. So it's plus, plus, plus. How can you add more and more and more? And follow up the service and contact after the sale. So don't just forget about the customers after they have left you. You need to talk to them after the sale. Okay. So remember, it's about the personal touch. So the sweetest sound in any language is someone saying our own name. We love to hear it. Someone says, hello, Terry. I say, oh, I like that. So say customers' names if you know it, or make it your job to know their name. So make it a routine to address customers by their name. And greet them warmly with a smile. And try to understand the likes and dislikes of particular customers. So if an important customer comes to you, do they like a coffee? Do they like a tea? Do they just like to do their business and head out and leave your branch as quickly as possible? Try to understand their likes and dislikes as much as possible. And say thank you. Thank customers and show your appreciation for their business. It's always nice when someone gives you the business for you to say, thank you, we appreciate your time and effort and your business. And also, customer service is about time. So customers place a high value on their time. So it's imperative to respect his or her time. Try to avoid long queues or waiting times for your customers as much as you possibly can. And when dealing with customers, say at the counter or even in your office, make sure that you have the knowledge, the attitude, and the appropriate material at hand in order to avoid long delays. So brush up on your product knowledge if you know they're coming in for a loan product. Make sure your attitude is right and have the correct material to hand, and don't be going scurrying looking for it when they are in front of you. So selling a service versus selling a product. In the microfinance industry, we're selling a service. So you cannot physically see the product. But in selling a service, you are part of the product. So remember that. You are part of the product. So it's the customer cannot get their loan or make a withdrawal or deposit without interacting with you. So you can be the USP or the unique selling proposition. So you can be the unique selling proposition. So how you sell is just as important as what you sell. And many bankers say to me, but Terry, all banks are looking similar now because they're offering similar products. But what's different nowadays is you. You are unique. And how you sell the product is just as important. In many cases, it's more important than what you sell. So if there's a 0.5% interest difference here or 1% difference there, the key thing is actually how you interact with your customer, because you can make the difference. So remember that it's not all just about your product. You make the difference. But for some customers, it's all about price. So if your customer's number one reason for doing business with you is based on price, then unfortunately, don't expect their loyalty to last long, because they're just going to move on to the next financial institution who will offer them something better. If your only differentiation is price, then you're in trouble with that particular customer. So when price rules, it's important that a point of differentiation is determined that draws the customer away from price. And this is you and you giving them a good experience and making them feel really happy with what you have delivered. Okay, so try and draw them away from price. And remember, there's different types or segments or tiers of customers. So financial institutions with multiple tiers or segments of customers must be cautious to avoid conflicts by serving one segment to the detriment of another. However, you do have to remember that your most valued customers are those customers who have the potential to be of a high value, always receive preferential treatment. And that's just the way it is. So not all customers are created equally. Every customer deserves courtesy and respect. However, the most profitable ones should be prioritized. And then you have to make sure that you award a higher level of service to them. So differentiation in customer services. How do you position yourself differently? What is it that sets you apart from your competitors? And this is something I'd ask you to think about for both yourself on an individual basis, your branch, your department, your bank. What is it that sets you apart? Because there has to be something that makes you different. Because otherwise, how will the customer decide to go to you instead of the institution next door? And Jack Trout, who is a famous author on positioning, he said, the key to the success of a business is to be different in the mind of the prospect, which is what positioning is all about. So let's just look at that again. He says the key to the success of a business is to be different in the mind of the prospect. That is what positioning is all about. So how can you be different? And remember, a product or service that tries to appeal to everyone winds up appealing to no one. Okay? So you need to know what sectors or segments you're going after and target that customer. Because if you're trying to appeal to everybody, what Jack Trout says is that if you try to appeal to everybody, you will end up appealing to no one at all. And that brings us on to strategic positioning. So how do you position your branch or your bank? So Michael Porter, who, as you know, is a famous author on customer service, he talks about operational effectiveness and strategic positioning. He says operational effectiveness means you're running the same race, but you're running faster than the other guys. So you're doing exactly the same as other people, but you're doing it faster than they are. Strategic positioning, on the other hand, is choosing to run a different race because it's the one you've set yourself up to win. Okay. So how can you, when we're looking at customer service, set yourself up to win so you're not constantly competing to run the race faster than the bank or financial institution down the road for you? Michael Porter distinguishes between operational effectiveness and strategic positioning. So operational effectiveness means becoming better at the same activities your competitors perform. So I'm not saying this is not right, this is good, and it can be a source of short-run competitive advantage. However, in the long run, it's not sufficient to keep a sustainable competitive advantage because someone will do it faster or quicker than you. So it's good in the short term, and you have to make sure that you are efficient and you do your job very, very well. But in the long run, you need to stand out from the crowd, and your positioning needs to be strategically different. And just think about that for yourself. How can you be strategically different than your competitors? So Seth Godin, who's an author on differentiation, he says, in a world of too many options and too little time, our obvious choice is just to ignore the ordinary stuff. So if you look at that, we see the little yellow man we don't see all of the other guys. How can you, when you're looking at customer service, be the little yellow man there with the smiley face? That's really what we're trying to say. Because if not, you're just going to be the same as everybody else. And remember, when we're talking about customer service, play it safe at your peril. The worst thing that you can do is to play it safe. And safe ultimately is risky because you're going to be the same as everybody else. And then how do customers go to you instead of another microfinance institution? So it's risky. So playing it safe is not what you should be doing. You should be trying to be different. The safe thing to do is to be at the fringes, to be pushing boundaries, to be remarkable. So think about your customer service. How can you be remarkable for yourself, in your branch, in your department, or in your bank? And Lee Cockrell, who was a director of the Disney World franchise that are now all over the world, he said, it's not the magic that makes it work. It's the way we work that makes it magic. So just look at that again. It's not the magic that makes it work. It's the way we work that makes it magic. So in your branch, how can you make sure that the way you work makes it magic? So that means you have to deliberately look at where your customer service is. And this is just one model of looking at your customer service or customer excellence. And there's 4 quadrants. We always start with saying, and I advise you to say, where are we now? What's our customer service like now? So assess the current state and assess it in a critical manner. Say, okay, what do we really know that we're doing well? And what do we really know that we have to improve? And write it down. Say, where are we doing well? Where do we need to improve? And then the next quadrant is, so where do we want to be? So if you know where you are, you need to sit down and decide, okay, so what do I need to do? And where do I want to go? So develop a service excellence strategy and standards. So here's where I want us to be in my branch, in my bank, or whatever. So you set out those goals. And then the next quadrant is say, okay, so how am I going to get there? So build capacity in your organization, measure the service excellence, put your plan, put your strategies in place. Remember, there's no quick fix. It's one customer at a time. It's one staff member at a time. But you really have to have your plan first and then say, how am I going to get there? And then the last one is, are we there yet? So you evaluate the service excellence strategy and communicate it regularly to your customers and to your staff. Dick Schaff, who's an author on customer service and service excellence, he says, service excellence is a race without a finishing line. So when you've got to where you want to be, now you keep on going. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, when you get to the top of the mountain, now's the time to start climbing. And that applies to service excellence. So there's no finishing line. So the challenge for financial institutions is to keep service at the top of mind all of the time. But in realities, most managers get bored with it. We saw at the start of the webinar how simple customer service really is. It's a smiley face, it's a warm greeting, saying hello, saying the customer's name, and still we cannot do it. And the reality is most managers get bored with it and go on to other things. But the winning institutions and where you want to be, remember we said we want you to crush your competition. The winning institutions are relentless in their pursuit of good service quality. So it's top of mind all of the time. Donald Porter, an author on customer service, said, customers don't expect you to be perfect. They do expect you, however, you to fix things when they go wrong. Okay? So everything goes wrong. You saw what happened with my laptop this morning. It went wrong. Okay, so that happens. The challenge is to fix things when they go wrong. So really listening to your customers and showing empathy with customers is essential. So you can say, listen, I empathize with you. I see where you're coming from. I apologize for any problems that we may have caused you, because you're there to fix things when they go wrong. And if you look at what Sir Richard Branson, who is the founder of the Virgin Airlines in America, in Australia, and he's well known for his drive and his desire to have good customer service. Some of the things that he says about why it works for him and his organization. He says, for leaders, be visible. A good leader doesn't get stuck behind a desk. So go out from behind the counter, talk to your customers, go into the environment and meet customers in their own working place. He says, express a passionate commitment to serving the customer. So a passionate commitment. A superior customer service is the key ingredient to success in the competitive global environment. Okay. So he's in the airline business. It works exactly the same in the microfinance industry and sector as well. A superior customer experience. So that's what you're trying to do. So it's the quality of the interaction that customers have with staff that encourages them to return. I told you about my experience when I bought my first and my second car. The salesman said, hello, Terry, good to see you again. And I came back again and again. He says, Richard Branson says, the customer experience is everything. And it begins with you. So it begins with you today. What are you going to do? And he says, have fun. Don't take things too seriously. I know finance is a serious business, but have fun and your customers will enjoy you for that. So let's look at 7 essentials of customer service. The first one is to be aware of 3 things that every customer wants. So every customer wants to be heard, they want to be understood, and they want to be cared for. So they want to be heard, they want to be understood, and they want to be cared for. So make sure that you in your business adhere to that and make sure that you apply that. The second one is what we call SEC. So it's have a smile, have eye contact, and then engage the customer with comments or engage in small talk. So SEC, have a smile, have eye contact. Now, not eye contact that makes the customer uncomfortable, but reasonable eye contact, and then engage in customer small talk. Listen to the customer and what they're really saying. Men in particular are really bad at listening, because as someone is talking to us, we are thinking about what we're going to say. Okay, so you really need to say, what is this customer saying? And what's their body language looking like as well? And then empathize with the customer. So say, I understand how you feel. Create solutions, because that's what they're there for, what they're coming to you for. Create solutions and options for them. And clarify the situation with the client. Tell them exactly where you are. If they're in with you looking for a loan, say, here's the situation. It's going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long. And as soon as I have any information, I will let you know. And then follow up customers with either phone or email or WhatsApp or in person. But the important thing is to follow up. And even if you have no news, just follow up and say, here's where we are. But as soon as I have any information, I will contact you. So looking at the service excellence or customer perspective from the customer's perspective. So the customer wants you, they want you to know what you are doing. They want you to be efficient, and they want you to be nice to them. Okay. So it really is important that you have those three. You know what you're doing, you're efficient, and that you are nice to your customers. So the customer expects you to do your job. Okay, so you're working in a financial institution. They expect you to know your job. If you get it wrong, the customer expects you to fix it with little or no inconvenience to him or to her. Because people are okay with things going wrong, but they just want you to sort it out. They expect that you will have the proper training and that you can accurately answer questions, or else find someone who can answer questions. And they expect you to do what you said you were going to do. If you said you were going to phone them tomorrow, make sure to phone them tomorrow. And John Rockefeller, who was the American entrepreneur and businessman, he said, next to doing the right thing, the most important thing is to let people know that you're doing the right thing. So communication is so important. Tell them where you are, even if it's bad news. Tell them where you are, because that is key to getting the customer on board. So be efficient. Your customer's time is valuable. So you should not have to put up with processes that are designed for your convenience at the expense of their time. They don't want to wait on the phone or queue for a long time. They want you, this is really important, folks. They want you to show up on time for your appointment. And some people say that, oh, it's a culture here that we are never on time. Don't accept that. Showing up on time is a personal issue. And if the traffic is bad in your city or your town, make allowances for it. Make sure that you are there on time all of the time. And customers want you to show them that you are concerned with their convenience. So if you are late, it's being disrespectful to your customers. And be nice. The customer is already giving you their hard-earned money to mine for them or whatever. So please act like you really appreciate it. It just takes a smile or a sincere tone of voice to show that you care. And they feel much better when they deal with an employee who clearly enjoys their job and seems happy that the customer is there. So the customer is there in front of you, and they want you to show that you are happy that they are there. So the last couple of slides, and we are finishing then, just briefly on a small piece on servant leadership. And a man called Robert Greenleaf, he came up with this concept. And he said that good leaders must first become good servants. So remember that first leaders must become good servants. So servant leadership, it replaces self-interest with service to others. So you're trying to help. If you're a manager in a branch, you're trying to become a servant to your colleagues. So you're trying to help them so that they can give better service. So servant leadership is about influence rather than power and control. You're trying to influence your people that work with you to do something rather than just telling them. Servant leadership is about focusing on other people's strengths rather than their weaknesses. Because remember what you're trying to do. You're trying to get your branch, your department, or your bank to be a happy place to work in, where people are happy to go in. And they don't want their boss telling them all the time where they are weak. They certainly want them to help them improve on weak areas, but they want the people to say, Terry, you did a really good job there, so well done. Servant leadership is about listening rather than giving orders. So you're listening to the concerns of others. And it's talking about long-range benefits rather than short-term profits. So again, it's the one customer at a time, one staff member at a time. And then my final slide here before I hand over to Nathaniel and Edmund is, Servant leadership is about transformation and future focus. So in your branch, in your department, look into the future. What can you do to become a servant leader? Leaders need to change in order to maximize delivery and customer value, because providing superior service is the competitive advantage for the microfinance sector. Leaders need to display an ability to adapt. So the way we've always done things around here needs to change, because the world is changing and the financial sector is changing so fast. And finally then, the top 3 leadership requirements are, when we're talking about servant leadership, is the ability to motivate your colleagues, the ability to work well across cultures and geographical boundaries, and then the ability to facilitate change. Because what we've spoken about this morning is all about doing things differently so that you will have a competitive advantage over the other people in your industry. So that means change. Doing things the old way, you won't survive. So servant leaders have this ability to facilitate change so that it becomes the culture in the branch to have a good service quality outlook. So with that, I'll hand back to Edmund and Nathaniel.
All right. Thank you very much, Terry. That was a fantastic presentation. And there are so many things I have picked out there that I know that is going to help. Even though I am not selling product, I am also selling a service. And to me, that is wonderful. As I was just listening to you, I was like, oh, I wish all my people would have been part of this discussion. And I know that participants at this time are also thinking that, look, I wish I have got all my full staff and everybody to listen to. Because when you came in at a point and said that it is not about a department, customer service is not about a department focus, but it's something that has to be a culture within all the members in the organization. That is the catch. And there were certain few comments that you also made that to me were very fantastic and which we need to know. He said you have to have the knowledge, the attitude, and then the appropriate material to be able to have that discussion, that flow with the clients. And then you said also 2 major things in your presentation that I love so much. You said that if the focus of your discussion of the things that you are offering the clients is based on price, then you are off. Then very soon you're about to see trouble because you need to build loyalty with the customer or with the client. And the client loyalty is not about price, because if your loyalty is based on price, within a short time, the person will go away. And then you've also talked about that great aspect where you are looking at the servant leader as the major focus in our discussion. Participants, please, the floor is open. If you have any question, please, you can ask us. But I want to listen, Terry. I want to listen to this presentation over and over and over again, and share my experience and my thought with a lot of people. I think that is one of the things that we are missing in our business over time, and that is what is also causing us so much. So please, the floor is open. Those that have questions, let us read your questions to Terry, among others. I have 1 or 2 questions. Yeah, so Terry, somebody called was asking a question. He said, is it possible to get the presentation slide? Yes, we are going to make it available for all of them. I mean, for all. Even to the point that we are going to put the presentation in terms of his presentation even on the website of GAMFIN. So you can listen to the presentation as long as also having the slides with you. Terry, I have a question, and I'm going to ask my question. Maybe I want to be the first person to ask my question, and I know that is going to help us to open the door for questions. You have been talking about customer service, and you speak as if it's so simple to do at our work setting. I want to find out, why is it not easy for us to implement customer service? Because we start and then at a point we forget that Look, this is why we are in business. A customer comes and the attitude alone drives us crazy, and we begin to act in a very different manner. You speak it so it's like it's easy. How can we? Why is it difficult for us to easily implement it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it reminds me, Edmund, of a comment that a phrase that's a very famous phrase by the Greek philosopher Aristotle, and he said that we are what we repeatedly do, and excellence therefore is not an act but a habit. So he said we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence therefore is not an act but it's a habit. So good customer service means establishing, it's about implementing and maintaining good service standards and habits. So we get into the habit of doing the same thing. And really what happens is financial services are not very good. Financial services companies are not very good at maintaining good customer service standards. They are good at identifying them and say, here's what we need to do, but they're not good at maintaining them. So they don't insist on consistency at every customer touch point. And that's the core piece, because good customer service, it's easy to define, but it's really hard to implement. So it sounds very simple, but it's down to management and individuals to say, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be a habit. I'm going to do it day in, day out, day in, day out. So it's about, as the Greek philosopher Aristotle said, it's about creating a habit so people, and a culture, because that gets into your culture. Culture is defined as how we do things around here. So how do people do things around your branch or your banking? So that's what I would say to that, Edmund. Easy to define, but actually hard to implement.
Thank you very much, Terry. You make me sound that it should be a conscious effort to live by it daily, to walk in it, to dream it, to drink it, to do everything. That conscious effort need to. Let me put another question to you. This is coming from Christian. Yeah. He said that in the concept of customer service, we get to know that the customer is always right. Yet we all know no one can always be right. Kindly share your opinion on this.
Yeah, a great question, Christian. And do you know what my view is? The customer is not always right. The customer is not always right, and we know that. The customer needs to be treated with respect and with courtesy, but in many cases, the customer is not right because they have wrong information. So I think that this thing that the customer is always right is not correct. The customer is king, the customer is queen because they pay our salaries, but they are not always right. And the challenge then for us as bankers or working in the financial services industry is to educate the customer. So to educate him in a nice manner, in a polite way, you don't say, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, you are wrong. You say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me just share information that I have. Okay? So remember that the customer doesn't have the information or the knowledge that you as bankers have. You have the information. You're a professional. It's like me going to a doctor and I say, doctor, I have a pain in my arm. I think I have this. The doctor examines me and says, okay, Terry, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but actually in my professional experience, here's what the issue is, and here's what I can do to help you. So just remember that the customer is not always right. The customer is king and queen because they pay our salaries. And you as professionals need to educate them in a polite manner and in a friendly manner, so that the customer will say, okay, that's interesting, and I learned something there today. That's how I would answer that. So good question, Christian.
Thank you. This is also coming from Adrian or Andrea. He said that, does it mean that it's not important to delegate tasks to employee when you talk about customer service being everyone's job? So he's asking whether you said that it's everyone's job. So if it's everyone's job, does it mean I don't need to delegate a responsibility? Because when we were in our management classes, we talk about delegation. Doesn't mean it doesn't matter that we need to delegate responsibilities and work to people.
Oh, I think delegation is key. When we look at leadership traits, one of the key elements of that is the ability to be able to delegate. Now, you delegate for a number of reasons, and one of the core reasons is to bring on new leaders and to bring on and to help your staff to grow and for them to become better at their job. So delegation is key. Ultimately, though, the boss, the manager, has the responsibility. So the manager has the responsibility, but he or she does not have to do everything. But ultimately, they are responsible. But a good manager will delegate to the appropriate staff to say, I want you to look after this particular area. And giving responsibility, in my experience, to other staff helps them grow and helps them feel good that, my manager or my supervisor trusts me to do this particular job, or they rely on me. So delegation is absolutely critical. When you are delegating, you need to make sure that the person that you are given to, that you have clear guidelines. You say, here's what I'd like you to do. You ask them, do they understand what you are asking them to do? So ask them to say it back. And then, is there any support that they need from you to implement whatever it is you have asked them? Because there's no point in delegating something that's impossible for a staff member to do. So be absolutely clear what you want them to do. Ask them to repeat it back to you so that there's a shared understanding. And then find out, is there any support that they need from you to implement whatever it is you've asked them to do.
Okay, Terry, thank you very much. I have two questions running. So please, what will you do if the customer is not willing to listen to the side of your issue in relation to when you talked about attitude first? What will you do? The next question too is here. It said that in relation to leadership requirement, how do I know what and how to motivate my staff?
Okay, two really good questions, and we could spend the next hour on each of them. So let's say the first one. First one is a really good one. A customer will not listen to you. When we talk about leadership, when we talk about sales, and we talk about selling next week, the ability to influence someone is really, really critical when we're trying to grow our business. And so having that ability to influence and to persuade people is a key factor. So if a customer doesn't agree with what you're saying, you have to be able to deal with facts and say, okay, I hear what you're saying. So you will always say, yes, I understand where you're coming from. So we empathize with the customer. But my understanding is, and you set out your facts. So you have to be able to counter the customer argument. Remember, when you're talking to a customer, a guy called John Cotter, who's a management consultant, he talks about winning the hearts and minds of customers. So you're trying to get the hearts and minds. So if you know, and as bankers, everyone who's listening, they are comfortable with data and facts and figures. But it's not just data and facts and figures that convinces people. It's about trying to win over their hearts as well. So remember that, hearts and minds, hearts and minds. How can you win over? You will not, in many cases, just win an argument or win over a customer with data. You have to look at their heart. So what is it that's really causing them to not want to believe you? And then the second question was how to motivate my staff. Okay, really good one. For most people, actually, you look at self-motivation. So what motivates me? Most people should be able to motivate themselves. But if you look at them as a leader, most people would say, give me more money. I want to get a higher salary, because that's the easy thing to say. But salary is not one of the key drivers in terms of motivation. It's about helping someone to grow. So how can you help them to grow in their job? It's about giving them responsibility. So my boss comes to me and says, Terry, I have a big job here to do, and I think you're the man for it. And suddenly I feel really good because my boss believes in me. So giving someone responsibility, but helping them as well. So coaching them to achieve the task that you they've set out. We talk about the 1 minute. We spoke about the 1 minute manager, and that's about giving praise to individuals, maybe giving them guidance in terms of where they need to go improve, and then it's helping them to grow. How can you help your staff to grow? How can you motivate them? So you need to have a relationship with your colleagues. If you don't have a relationship and they don't trust you, then it's going to be very hard to motivate them. You need to walk the talk. So let's say a pet of mine is about punctuality and being on time. If I'm in a branch and I say to all my colleagues that we start here at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's critical, and I come in every day at 8:30, I'm not going to be able to motivate them. So people in leadership positions have to be able to walk the talk. And the final piece I would say how to motivate people is share a vision that you have of your department, of your branch, what you want your branch to do, what you want your bank to do. It's not just meeting the numbers. So it's not just meeting the targets that you've been set by your bosses, because we all have targets. So you have to do that. So set a vision that will inspire your colleagues and that they will buy into. So we want to be the best at customer service in our town or in our city or in our financial institution. So inspire them. So that means you have to have a relationship with them. So they're just some of the things, Edmund, I would say. It's a complex question, but they're some of the things that I would say in answer to that.
All right. Thank you very much, Terry. One person said that we are not in the coffee business serving people. We are rather what? Serving people. We are not in the coffee business serving people. We are in the people business serving coffee. And this was the Howard statement, and people are saying that was a great statement from him. Yeah. I have 3 quick questions. Let's see whether we can speed it up. It said from the presentation, we are to make pricing from the presentation. So it's like, are we to make pricing the key factor of customer retention? Can you expatiate further? That is one question. The second question is that he said, are there risks associated with customer service delivery, and how can we manage them as customer service personnel? And then the quick third one is from Stephen, who said that, how does one practice empathy to deliver a good customer service in the banking industry?
Okay. I'll take the first one first, Edmund, about price. Price, you should never. I won't say you should never.
Let me add this to it, so you can Terry. Sorry, let me add this question to it. Yeah. Then you can be able to answer all of them. So, how do you correct a customer who may have been misinformed by a senior colleague? This is from Seth. He said, how can you correct a customer who may have been misinformed by a senior colleague? Thank you.
Are we talking about price here or just generally?
Pricing, general pricing, I think so.
Oh, okay. The bottom line, Edmund, is that the people on the webinar here, you have to be professional. Okay, so that's your bottom line. You have to be professional, and you have to be authentic. So you have to be yourself. You have to give the correct information. So if someone, and even if it's a senior person, gave wrong information, you have to say, listen, that was incorrect information that you got. And I apologize for that, but that was incorrect information. It's not a nice message to give out, but it's the only message that you can give out, because you have to be able to say that. Sorry, that was incorrect. Here's the actual price that we're going to charge you, or whatever. Here's what the current rate is. So there is no easy way out. The customer mightn't like it at the time, but they will respect you, because at least Terry is telling me the truth, that someone else just gave them incorrect information. So they will respect you and they will trust you. You need to make sure that you apologize for it. And going back to the third question where you asked about empathy, how do you practice empathy? You say to the customer, listen, I understand how you feel. Empathy is putting yourself into the shoes of the customer. So you say, listen, I understand how you felt. You were given incorrect information, and I understand that you are now upset. Okay, so accept that, and accept that the customer might be angry with you or whatever. But the key thing is put yourself at the other side of the counter. So if you were the customer's shoes, how would you feel? And that's a good way to practice empathy. So say, how would I feel if I was given this level of service, or if I was given incorrect information? Say, listen, I understand how you feel. I apologize, and here's the correct information. Now, make sure that the information is correct. And then as we said in the slides, everyone gets it wrong from time to time. The challenge then for you is to say, okay, here's what I can do to help you. Remember, you're there to give solutions. So customers given wrong information, say, now here's what I can do for you. Here's what, and remember, you as an individual, you are the USP, you're the unique selling proposition of the bank. You can say, listen, I will help you. It doesn't mean if you're going looking for a loan that I can guarantee it, but I certainly will do all I can within my area of responsibility to push it up the line, to make sure the data is correct. So I am on your side. If for some reason you don't get a loan, I'll explain why you don't get a loan. So empathy is key. About being misinformed, you just have to say, listen, I apologize, you got the wrong information. And the second one, I didn't get the second one, Edmund, about customer service delivery. What was that question again, please? Hello, Edmund?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I didn't get your second question about customer service delivery.
He was asking that whether there are risks associated with customer service delivery, and how can we manage them as customer service person or personnel?
Yeah, remember what Richard Branson says is that customer service starts with you. So it starts with each individual. So there's no point if you are a supervisor or a manager saying, we're going to have great customer service. You need to get your colleagues on board. So it starts with the individual. And Aristotle said customer excellence is a habit. But the thing is, first of all, you need to write down what habit we want to have here. So when everyone comes in, we make sure that we smile at them. When we know a customer, we make sure that we say their name. When a customer asks us about a product, we make sure that we have the product knowledge, or we go and get it as fast as possible. And we write down those things, Edmund. Say, here's what we are going to do. And you write it down, a couple of sentences on each one, and say, here's what we are going to do. And then you manage it, you police it. Yeah, so you say, okay, are we doing this? Yes or no? If not, what do we need to do to improve it? If we're doing it, that's really good. So you set it down, here's what we're going to do, and then you help people and train people. Because maybe some of your colleagues, they don't know a lot of your products. So you have to say, okay, I have to do product knowledge training with customers. Maybe some people are shy in front of customers. So you help them, you do role play, and you help them to how to start a conversation with customers. So that would be, I would say, key around customer service delivery. Write it down, keep it simple, and then measure, and try and improve people all the time. Catch them doing things doing right rather than all the time doing things wrong. And measure, and grow as you go along. And remember, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens one customer at a time. But there's no time like today for starting your journey. Because if you don't start it today and you say, well, I'll do it next week or next month, you will miss that time. So that's what I'd say on that one, Edmund.
Terry,
yeah.
So grateful. I want to listen to you again and again, but we don't have much time for today. So I will plead with a participant. If you have further questions, please still send it to us, and we are going to make sure that we'll do all our best, that we will be able to give you feedback on them. Somebody said the caliber of customers we deal with are less educative and does not have education at all. So at the KYC, that is know your customers, or stage of dealing with them, the kind of feel you are asking too much. The kind of feel you are asking too much. Meanwhile, that is the requirement of the bank. What would be your advice on this issue? Because we know customer is always right. That is somebody's quick statement. 1 minute to just, Terry, 1 minute to just answer this question, then I can call it.
Yeah, remember, as I said, the customer is not always right. But the customer deserves courtesy. As bankers and someone working in the financial institution in Ghana, one of your core jobs is to educate people. Okay? It's not easy. But you have to. You're there to help them and to educate them. And if the customer's level of education is at a lower level, yeah, that makes it a bit of a challenge. But it's a challenge that you can overcome. So you use different methods. So you don't maybe give them a brochure to read. You explain it. So it really is about influence. It's about influencing, persuading the customer, informing them, showing them that you are a professional. Tell them how long you are in the bank. Tell them the areas of responsibility you are. It's like if you go into a doctor's surgery, you see all these things around his wall that shows how qualified he is. Okay? Tell them, in your experience, because you've dealt with being in the bank for 5 years, 10 years, and your experience in this, share your knowledge with them. Now, you do it in a nice way, in a friendly way, so that you're trying to get the customer to like you, to develop a relationship with you, to trust you. And you won't win all of the time. Remember that you won't win all of the time. Some customers will just say, no, I don't want to do business with you, or I don't believe you. That's just life. But you will win more customers and win more debates and arguments if you try and empathize with them, say, I see where you're coming from, but try and educate them and try and get them to trust you and see you as the professional that you are.
Right, thank you very much. So I believe that Terry, you have more time. We'll send you most of these questions that people are asking. Ebenezer is asking a question among others. We'll send them to you for you to give us a rundown of those, what we can do in those areas. What is happening is that Terry is, my people, Terry is going to have other sections with us. And I believe that with the first presentation, you will want to go more and more on it. But as I said, there are other ones that he's going to do with you, and you are going to have more time with. Next time around, try and invite most of your colleagues to be able to join in this discussion. I know those of you that have boardrooms, you want to set it up as a big giant to open it up for all your clients to have room for. At this point, I just want to bring in Nathaniel to help us close the section for today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edmond and Mr. Terry, for a nice presentation. I believe the audience have learned a lot and are going to put it into practice. Quick one, please, this webinar was recorded, and as such, it will be sent to you to your email with a presentation. And it's also a series on sales and marketing. This is the first one we've had. As you can see on your screen, we have 3 more to go: 22nd September, 10th October, and then 25th October. I want to encourage everybody to stay put as we send a flyer around, and then you can register and then get ready for it. Thank you once again for your time and your patience. I want to wish you good and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for your patience and your time. We are so
Bye,
grateful.
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Best of luck.